Welcome into sportsbookreview.com. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And this is week 22 of the offseason, or show 22. I guess it might be week 23, 20, whatever it is. Either way.
Nobody's counting but us.
It's show number 22. And we have got some things to discuss. We had expansion talk for the past however many weeks, and then finally the playoff committee comes out and gives us some news. So we're going to talk about that. There's discussions about American Athletic Conference expansion, so we got to hit on that, of course. Both Schembechler talk, stuff that we don't want to hit on with that. National NIL, all kinds of stuff went on last week, and we have some more transfers. And, of course, we are going to talk about the best games of the week for 2021 draft. We're going to do weeks 0 through 7 today and pick out what game we would cover. If we were a national media member, which, we kind of are, we don't go to the games to cover them because there's a ton that we want to watch at any given Saturday. But if we had to pick one game before the season, that's what we're going to go through. We're going to draft them out. We're going to do our thing. So before we get started, if you would, do us a very, very nice favor and hit that like button. Once we get to 50 likes on a video, YouTube algorithm goes crazy, starts sending it out to a whole bunch of people. We would appreciate that. You can also do us a favor and subscribe to the channel. That way you will know when you get a new video. We are about to start ramping things up. We are ever so close to the football season. The first game's on August 28th.
That's right.
That's week 0. We are right there. We're a little more than 2 months away. So go ahead and dive in there. And go over to sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. There's a link in the description. It's your one-stop shop for all of your college football gambling content. I'm telling you, we got a crew over there that knows what they're talking about. Maybe more so than we do. Who knows? But Chris and I like to think of ourselves as smart, but that bunch really knows their stuff. So make sure and you check out the website there. So along with that, if you want to jump in at any point, just dive in the comments. If you don't want to do that, if you don't have a YouTube account or whatever, you're just watching this on the website, hey, we understand. We're old school as well. You can also hit us up on Twitter. I am at Gary WCE.
I'm at Chris B. Giannini.
Or if you are the oldest of old schools and you only do things through email, the way that my 63-year-old father does, go ahead and email us. Gary at winningcureseverything.com.
I'm Chris at winningcureseverything.com.
Let's dive into the show. Topic number 1, college football playoff is expanding to 12 teams. Now, it's not official. It's not official, but you don't have 3 conference commissioners and the Notre Dame athletic director come out and have a press conference where they are explaining that they are recommending to all of the college presidents and athletic directors, hey, you're going to have to vote on this, but we think it should be 12. And the way that they ended up doing it is pretty smart. Pretty smart. The 6 top conference champions, the 6 top-ranked conference champions, notice that did not say 5 P5s and 1 G5. That said the top 6 conference champions.
Make me happy.
Very much so, because this way you're not going to get a 7-5 Wisconsin.
That's right.
You're not going to get a 7-5 Florida State or something along those lines.
Last year had Northwestern beat Ohio State.
Right.
You're not going to get them.
Well, they only had 1 loss at that time, didn't they?
Yeah, but I still don't think they would. Oh, yeah, I bet they would have.
So here's the example.
3 years ago when Northwestern had lost 3 games, 4 games, and 3 of them were to unranked opponents.
Yes.
That's the team that wouldn't have gotten in.
Very much so. Last year, Oregon was
a school that I love.
Oregon was a 3-2 team. The Oregon Ducks. They were 3-2. They won the Pac-12 championship because of just a fault. Washington couldn't play in the game. How often are we going to see that again? Who knows? But Oregon wins the Pac-12. They are ranked number 20. That would have gotten another G5 team in. Sure. And we hate using the term G5. We do.
I really do.
But the money separation,
I think
that's what it's for. But either way, you would have had Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina in a 12-team playoff last year.
That's right.
And that's a pretty big deal.
And both of them would have been awesome games.
Oh, yes, they would have. Very much so. So the question to ask is, who does this help the most? Now, I'm sure that you've all seen the news. The way that it will be set up is 12 teams. You have the first round on home campuses, and then everything after that is neutral site bowl games, which we can discuss that. Like, it is what it is. I'm not a fan of it.
No.
I think that the reason they had to do this is because they want this thing put in play before this current contract is up. and their contract with the Bowls.
Contracts with the Bowls.
Yeah, they got too many contracts going on. So if the Bowls get grandfathered into this, I'm not going to be a fan of it because I think that they are outsourcing their best cash cow. Like they're outsourcing it to Bowls. They're giving away money for no reason. Now, I do think that the younger these ADs and commissioners and whatnot get, I mean, Jim Phillips, the AD at Northwestern, goes over and he's the new ACC commissioner. Like, I think these guys aren't as tied to the bowl system, but we'll see.
Well, the bowl system is going to work really hard to get their claws into these guys because that's what they do. They're just pimps.
But here's the side of it, right? It's the ADs and commissioners now make way more than they used to when the Bowls initially did.
So that golf club membership and that extra car expense that they get from the Bowls might not matter as much.
Exactly.
And that's what we hope. That's what we really hope, unless the Bowls are going to jack the price of rising.
Well, but if you're an AD and you can get, like if you're the AD at Alabama, are you as tied to going to the Cotton Bowl or the Sugar Bowl as you would be in getting a home playoff game?
Yeah, no. I mean, so you want the home playoff game.
Yes.
Like, it's weird. The top 4 teams that are going to get the bye are getting a bye. The next 4 seeds are all going to get a home game. Those top 4 seeds are not going to get a home game.
Right.
If you just make it 2 weeks in a row
of all the home games
then
on campus,
basically all 8 top seeds are going to get a home game.
Yes. And with that, like the way that goes, you would have 8 different home campuses.
Yeah, you get 8 different venues.
Because none of the teams that have a bye are going to go visit the teams that just won.
That's right.
Like, you're going to have different spots. And I love that idea. So, either way, the question is, who does it help the most? Josh Pate over at 247 had a really interesting take on this. He believes that this is the catalyst, and he cannot believe that these P5 programs allowed this. Mostly the Pac-12, the Big 12, and even maybe the ACC. Because this gives the AAC a chance to be in this thing every year. Every year, Cincinnati's, UCF's, Memphis, Houston, SMU, whoever ends up with Temple as well. Like, there's teams in that conference that play exceptional football so long as they make the right hires. I don't think Temple made the right hire. No. I've been over that before, but either way.
But they have the ability to do it, and it's not just those schools have. All of those schools aren't always going to be great. Yeah. But guess what? Iowa State hasn't been good in our life until they made the right hire and Matt Campbell came along.
Yeah.
Like, so you've got bad teams in conferences all the time. That's irrelevant. Almost every major college football team, the campus, the university, these college towns, they're called college towns for a reason because they're in small podunk towns. The American, I've said this for the last 4 or 5, at least 3 or 4 years that you and I have been doing a show together. The American is in the biggest cities in the country. Take out Chicago, take out LA, take out New York. All the rest, we got the biggest cities out of all the biggest college towns.
Oh, yes. Now, don't get me wrong. There are big ones, right? Obviously, there's LA with USC and whatnot. Madison, Wisconsin's pretty big.
Madison, Wisconsin is not close to the size of Houston.
But that's the thing.
It ain't close to the size of the Philadelphia.
Houston, Philadelphia, Dallas, Memphis, Cincinnati, New Orleans. I mean,
yeah,
we go on and on.
Close, not close.
Orlando.
Like, yeah. Somebody tell me that Georgia Tech is in Atlanta, and let's start a debate on how much that's mattered to Georgia Tech. But all of these schools, it does matter.
Yes, very much so. And so here's the deal. You give these guys a seat at the table, and all of a sudden, there's more interest in the schools. There's more interest in these schools. All of a sudden, there's more people watching on TV because they feel like they have a chance to actually go win a national championship. All of a sudden, there's more television interest in these schools. All of a sudden,
they're going to get bigger TV
they get
deals.
Bigger TV contracts.
Because do I want your TV deal that gets me eyeballs in Ann Arbor? Well, like
Ann Arbor is one thing. That's a traditional whatever.
But I'm just saying, like, would you rather have the eyeballs of
Pullman, Washington?
Pullman, yeah. Or would you rather have the eyeballs of Tulsa, Oklahoma even?
Yeah.
Like, every national demographic that's selling advertising would rather be in this eyeballs in the city of Tulsa on a game than Pullman.
The way the way these TV contracts used to work is,
and Tulsa's one of the smaller ones.
Oh yeah, no,
they'd all rather be in Tampa or in Cincinnati or Memphis or Dallas or Houston. Holy shit!
The way that the TV contracts used to work is, now it's all switched because of the cord cutting and internet streaming, et cetera.
Sure.
Now you are focusing on specific groups of the country, which makes this much more profitable for the AAC. But back then, it was you just wanted the state. You wanted a school in that state so that you could get subscribers for whatever, like Cox or Xfinity, et cetera. If you could convince those cable providers to offer your channel on the basic package, you get $1 out of every one of them. Like, think about how many it's millions. Do you see what the SEC network, they were able to get in at the very tail end of it.
That's right.
The ACC network, you see, nobody can get that channel. Like, it's impossible. And the Pac-12 network could never get distribution because nobody cared. Like, nobody cared about it. So, right now, the AAC, they have a very small following. You give them a seat at the table, you let them get in and win a playoff game here and there. I mean, you never know. How different is that Cincinnati-Georgia game last year that was in the Peach Bowl if the game's at Nippert Stadium at night?
That's right. No, that's a big deal. That was played to a field goal game to begin with.
Yep.
Give Cincinnati a home field advantage in that, and you don't think it's worth 3 points?
Very much so.
You don't think they're going to get a call, go here or there?
And for those that want to argue, again, if you want to jump into the comment section, feel free, because we would love to hear your opinions on all of this. We know that Georgia had guys that opted out of the game. We get it. Totally fair. But you never know. Like, this is what makes this a lot more fun. The other part of this is, what would this have looked like in the past? A 12-team playoff. Think about some of these matchups. Now, I'm not going to talk about 2020, but 2019, you would have had Memphis at Georgia as a playoff game in Athens. Now, that Georgia team couldn't find an offense.
That's right.
Jake Fromm had regressed. That Memphis offense with Mike Norvell, just think about what that could have been like. Penn State at Baylor that year, Matt Rules last year, James Franklin and that bunch going down to Texas, give me that all day. Florida at Wisconsin, going to Camp Randall. I mean, this is 2019. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I am a big fan of this idea. 2018, Penn State at Notre Dame in a playoff game. Florida at Michigan. Washington at UCF.
Yeah.
I mean, like, give me all of this.
All of them.
2017 was the best slate of games. I wanted to read this one off. That UCF team that went undefeated, claimed a national championship. Alabama actually won the college football playoff. You would have had UCF at Alabama in the first round. That would have been a lot more fun than watching UCF against an Auburn team that had guys that didn't play, guys that were injured and decided to sit out, whatever. And they had just lost a game to Georgia that would have gotten them into the playoff. Like, we understand. We don't like when people make excuses. But a game with stakes is a much bigger deal. UCF at Alabama, Washington at Wisconsin that year, Miami at Auburn. Like, give me that Auburn team with stakes. And then Penn State at USC that year. I am all over this. I love all this. There were some other ones. USC at Wisconsin would have happened. Houston at Iowa. TCU at Stanford. North Carolina at Ohio State. Boise State Baylor in 2014. Ole Miss at Michigan State for the right to play against Alabama.
That's right.
I mean, like, give me all of this. So I am a huge proponent of this. I was a little wary last week of it. Chris and I talked on our show about, I thought I'd be a little more excited. I'm excited now.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Like, let's get this thing to the finish line a lot quicker. They say it's going to be 2023.
All I want is I want to make sure people are holding the people who do the rankings accountable.
Very much so.
You cannot rank a team that is defeated in the G5 or a one-loss team in the G5 lower than a team that has a worse record than them and a loss to a G5 school. Like, you just can't monkey with the rankings to suppress the little guys and say, okay, you're going to get your highest conference champion in, but that's it. That's all you're getting in.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to make sure you only get one seat at the table. No. You have to be true to the rankings.
And we could 100% see that happening.
No. There's no doubt. The reason I'm saying this is because
it's probably going to happen.
I fully expect them to do it.
I could 100% see it. And yes, we will see that. So I did bring up this as well. The AAC. There was a little talk about a week and a half ago. the week before the playoff announcement thing. And Mike Oresco kind of made some statements. He hinted at a few things that the AAC was looking to expand.
This is the conference commissioner.
Yes, Mike Oresco is the conference commissioner for the American Athletic Conference. He hinted to expanding, and there were actual names. Now, he didn't say the names, but there were names that were leaked out. They were talking about adding, along with all the ones that we just listed, Memphis, Houston, Temple,
all the people
Tulane,
that are already there,
etc.
Well, right now they have an odd number anyway because
11, because UConn went back to independent.
Quit.
And so with that, they referenced Boise State, San Diego State, and Colorado State. Now, it would boost the conference on an even more national scale. You could demand more money. The reason you might expand is to get back to the television table sooner, because once there is a massive change like that, you have to go back, and they earn the right to go back and renegotiate the contract. And with that,
do you think there's any world in which they can nix Colorado State and convince Boise State this is in your best interest?
I'm not sure why they didn't
Not
go.
Boise State, BYU. Sorry.
Maybe now.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe now,
yeah. You think this is in – because if they can bump Colorado State they grab Boise State.
How about this?
I'm going to keep saying that. BYU.
Yeah, how about this? Instead of Boise State, Colorado State, and San Diego State, why not just go bring in BYU? Like, think about this. The top 6 conference champions get into this, and now you have 6 at-larges. BYU's schedule?
Oh, I still like the idea of bringing all 3.
Bring all 3, just nix Colorado State.
Just bounce Colorado State for BYU.
So the only issue there is I don't think that the AAC would want to deal with the scheduling issues that BYU brings.
I could see that.
That's the only issue. So, because the Mountain West, kind of gave them everything they wanted, and they still decided to leave.
Yeah.
Because BYU looks at themselves as a West Coast Notre Dame.
Yes.
I don't know which conference would want it, but I'll tell you this: BYU has a massive fan base.
The reason I say that they have a massive fan base, they bring the academic side to it. That's going to help, because
they bring good football,
and they're great football.
Well, and basketball.
Well, yeah,
they
compete in sports.
Yeah,
they compete
really
in your athletics. And I think what you can sell them that the Mountain West couldn't sell is you come in here, you win this conference, and you're playing in the tournament.
Yes.
Outside of that, they're going to have a hard time getting in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Mountain West last season, and San Jose State won the conference, didn't sniff a playoff. Wasn't even close.
No.
But Coastal
struggled to be ranked.
Yes. I mean, it's just the way that it's perceived. And now, who knows what Boise State's going to be without Brian Harsin. They've been through coaching changes before. They always succeed because they actually fund their program.
Well, yeah, if the new coach doesn't work out, they'll hire another one.
Yeah, they'll go get another one. They'll make it work.
But they're going to be good.
Yes, they are going to be fine. And that's honestly the thing about Colorado State. They spend more on football than Boise does.
They do.
Colorado State puts a lot into it. I mean, we talked about their stadium before. Their stadium is unbelievable, man.
Yeah, I just feel like they haven't been relevant in college football. And I'm not asking them to be LSU, but at some point in time, it's bad hires because who wants to go out there and coach?
Agreed. Now, San Diego State has been
so
pretty
much
good.
of college football is about recruiting.
Oh, very much.
They don't have local homegrown talent to recruit in, and they're not going to the surrounding states and pulling kids. Boise has homegrown talent. San Diego State can get any kid in the country, just walk on this campus and see the beach.
I mean, there's not exactly like a recruiting juggernaut in Idaho.
No, but it's got
it's West Coast.
And it's got cachet, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to bet they build their team from the trenches, and I'm going to bet that the majority of their offensive and defensive linemen
are probably in like a 4-hour drive of Boise. That makes sense. Now, my question here was, is it necessary to expand at this point if you know,
yes,
hey, this 11-team whatever, you think so?
I think so.
What's the reasoning?
Because you want to –
you want as much at the table as possible when you want a TV deal.
And that's it. You don't care about the playoffs so much as you want the TV deal.
Yeah.
They're the bastard at the table right now. They're at the stepchild table that nobody wants. They can't get a big TV deal. If everybody else is getting – hundreds of millions of dollars over a couple of years, and they're getting a few $1 million every couple of years, there's no way they can compete. That separation will get bigger.
The Pac-12 is
I do
the
think
closest.
expansion is the best thing for them.
Yeah, the Pac-12 is the closest to the AAC as far as the P5, G5 split. The AAC, their schools average about $7 million a year off rights fees or media rights or whatever. Yeah. The Pac-12 is well into the 20s. So we're talking triple, sometimes quadruple the amount of money that they bring in on sports every year. That's a pretty big cutoff.
That's a lot.
And yet, even with the shortcomings from the financial side, the AAC still.
What would Cincinnati, what would UCF, what would Memphis, what would Houston look like, SMU look like if they had $40 million a year?
Or even like $25 million. Like just triple what they already make and, triple, quadruple, like whatever. Like give them just that bare minimum of a P5 and I mean, they would be unbelievable. Yes. Like the recruiting bases and everything alone are just unreal. So I am curious what they end up doing with this if anything happens at all. But it's a nice conversation to have. I like the thought of it. Moving on from there, we are going to discuss a topic that we do not like discussing, but it's still a big enough story that we probably need to hit on it. That would be the Bo Schembechler news. I guess you could call it news. There were two former Michigan football players and the son of Bo Schembechler. It was Dan Kwiatkowski and Giovanni Johnson. That's an offensive tackle and a wide receiver, along with Matt Schembechler, who's Bo Schembechler's adopted son. They had a news conference at Michigan on Thursday of last week. They all admitted to being molested by Dr. Robert Anderson. Matt explained he told Bo about the abuse when he was getting a youth football physical back in 1969. That was right at the beginning of Bo's career at Michigan. And Bo told him he didn't want to hear about it. He told him to toughen up, and he put his hands on his wife, from the report here from Matt, and then he punched his son in the chest. There have been more than 800 former patients that have made legal claims that Anderson sexually assaulted them during physicals and medical appointments. This is a pretty big deal because I don't know what fallout there will be at Michigan other than, like, you're just going to have to disassociate the Schembechler name with all those different areas on campus.
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's the only thing that you can do.
It's tough.
I wonder if this means anything at all for Harbaugh. And the reason I question that, and this is reaching a little bit, but Harbaugh was a Schembechler player.
That's right.
That was the guy that he looked up to. I wonder, because it's been really difficult to be able to cut ties with Harbaugh. One, because who else are you going to get that's better? And two, he's a Michigan man. If the Michigan guy can't do it coming back home when he was successful everywhere else, then maybe that means that it can't be done. With this news coming out about Schembechler and whatnot, does it make it easier to cut ties with Harbaugh?
No, this doesn't make it easier to cut ties with Harbaugh. There is a world where Harbaugh gets upset with the school because that's his coach. He doesn't know him as this monster. He doesn't know him as this asshole.
Oh, he did come out and say, like, he made a big statement about it. Like, that's not the Bo Schembechler I know.
That's right.
Like, he would have never done this, etc. Like, now that was before these allegations were made public by these players. But go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. So shaming someone that you love and that you had a great relationship with and you never saw any of that side of is never easy, okay? And so if the school chooses to do that, this might be a thing where Harbaugh says,
yo, I'm out.
I'm just going to walk away. I don't want to be a part of this. But I do think whenever the day comes, I'm going to make this this is going to sound stupid or positive, whatever, but it's not. It is what it is. Whenever the day comes that Harbaugh moves on from Michigan, or Michigan moves on from Harbaugh, or however that works out, and they're looking for a new coach, this is the opportunity to allow them to not get a Michigan man.
That is true.
They can now just go out and hire the best coach. Because the person that started the Michigan man has been shamed. There's been a black cloak thrown over them. Another former Michigan man who everybody thought at one point in time would be a great hire in Michigan, Les Miles, has a black cloak. At some point in time, it's easy to say, let's move on from this.
Yeah,
Let's just go
create.
get the best coach we can get,
Yeah.
and be damned this logo, this thing, this prestige that we put on ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Like, you can create more Michigan men.
That's right.
Like, that's
Once you hire them, they're now a Michigan man.
exactly.
What's that paycheck say? I'm now a Michigan man. That's what it
Matt
says.
Campbell, if he decided to leave and go to Michigan, he would all of a sudden be a Michigan man.
That's right.
That's the way it goes. Now, we can say that Rich Rodriguez was a Michigan man because he was hired by the school. He didn't exactly live up to the hype, but either way, like, that's the only time that they've gone outside of the family, and it didn't end well. And then after that, of course, they go with Brady Hoke, they go with Jim Harbaugh, and they've had successful years, but they have not gotten back to the national championship landscape, and that's where they want to be. So, moving on from there, the NIL debate went on last week. I don't want to talk too much about it, but I'll read you what I wrote down here. How's that? Last Wednesday, senators discussed to what extent Congress should be involved in reforming college sports with NCAA President Mark Emmert, along with several coaches and other NCAA representatives, and it was basically just a beating of the NCAA. They all discussed the things that the NCAA has done wrong. However, congressional aides told ESPN it's unlikely Congress will pass any type of college sports legislation before July, which means that there is going to be some sort of unequal playing field as state laws trickle into effect this summer. Right now, there are 6 states that are starting NIL, name, image, likeness, legislation in July, which is only a couple of weeks away now. That would be Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and New Mexico. Imagine that. Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi. Like, that makes perfect sense, right? There are 12 states that are going to go into effect in the next 4 years. Now, I haven't listed those out here, but the NCAA has already come out and said that they will not penalize teams that utilize this in their states while they're waiting on a federal ruling. Everybody had hoped, Mark Emmert had hoped, that we would have some kind of a federal resolution. The issue that they are running into now is some of the senators are pushing that the schools should be paying part of these name, image, likeness things, that they should be paying appearance fees or whatever.
Yeah.
Some of them are coming out with, hey, we think, like, let's just do this Olympic model. Like, it should be easy. And this is what happens when you let the government get involved in your business. Period. Like, all of a sudden, everything that was supposed to be super simple, right? Hey, just write up a rule that says that college players can be paid.
And they can make their own money.
Yes.
It doesn't have to come through the school.
Exactly. It doesn't have to come from the school. You can still retain your amateur status, which is what the Olympics did, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be in the Olympics, you could not be paid as a professional athlete. And then all of a sudden, they dropped that thing out. It was 30 years ago. It was the Dream Team, right?
Yeah.
1992.
They had to do it basically because if you wanted to continue to compete, you couldn't hang with Russia. Not because Russia's better than us, but Russia doesn't count their military as employment.
Yeah.
And so all of their greatest athletes, they just drafted into the military, and then they got to work out and do their sport for their job, quote unquote, but they're still amateurs.
Right.
And there was just no way to compete with that.
And that's been 30 years ago. The Olympics found a way to get around it, right? Because Russia found a way to get around it to be in the Olympics. Like,
other countries have done it, and so that's just it.
This was a very simple process.
This hurts nobody, by the way.
No, of course not. But that's the reason that you don't get Congress involved in a decision that impacts your business. Like,
it's an idiot.
Emmert wanted something that was federal, that would legislate all of the states, when he himself, the organization, years ago, could have put this into action and said, hey.
He could have done it this year.
He could have done it at any point, and now you have the government involved, and now you've got states that are passing it at different times, because anybody that goes to Alabama this year, all of a sudden they get to make money off their name, image, likeness.
So the only 2 SEC schools that matters to us is LSU and Missouri.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 SEC schools that are affected by
I mean, there's South Carolina that doesn't right now.
I thought the Carolinas had passed it.
No. I think they're part of like the 12 states. Louisiana is going to pass something.
Yeah, but they haven't yet.
But they haven't yet.
I'm talking about as of right now. I thought the only 2 schools.
No. The 6 states that are passing it in July, like in the next few weeks: Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, New Mexico. Those are the only ones that are going into effect this year. The other ones start July of next year.
Oh, they've already passed it, but they start
Right.
July of next year. I was about to say, because I'm pretty sure Missouri hasn't passed anything yet.
And Louisiana
hasn't passed anything yet.
But they will.
They
will. They absolutely will. But as of right now, it's only 18 states out of 50.
Why would you write a law up that's not going to take effect for another year?
Well, California started this, right?
What would be the purpose of that? If you're a legislator, forget college sports, for instance. If you're a legislator, tomorrow, the state of Mississippi, you wanted to make marijuana legal, which marijuana is illegal in the state of Mississippi. All right? Why would you write the law and say, next year we're going to do this? Why would you just do it tomorrow?
That's a great question.
Like, why would you put a date on something that you believe is the right thing to do, and you're going to use your power and your will of your, whatever your office is to do it? What is the purpose of the states that put it off a year?
I wish that we had talked to Lynn Simon a little more about that.
Yeah.
Because we didn't even think to ask that question whenever we had him on back in the pre-pandemic stuff. Or no, I guess it was early pandemic stuff.
It was right in the pandemic.
Yeah, I don't know. But there are several that start it next year, and then there's some that do 2023.
This is college football stuff, by the way. There's a lot of legislation that they're like, we believe this is the right thing to do. We're passing this law. It'll start in 4 months. Or 6 months. Why not start today?
Now? Yeah.
What are we waiting on?
So there are some things that you need to give people time to get ready for. I don't know that this is one of them. The NIL stuff, why not just pass it now? Legalizing marijuana?
The time to get ready for is a bad argument, is because that means we politically are going to manipulate and maneuver things to where the winners that we want to win have their ducks in a row. And everybody else, you're now manipulating the free market. Now,
100%.
Now I'm getting political. That bothers me. But but that makes, you know what I'm saying? But that's why, by the way.
Yes.
So California wants to open their restaurants fully, but they're not doing it for 5 months. Why not open tomorrow? Well, we need time to hire new people and get them trained, all this stuff. But hey, if you open it tomorrow, now all of the restaurants can go out and compete for all of the labor that's out there.
Yeah, they could hire back the workers.
The reason
that they were
you
forced
want
to
to put this date on there is because you have certain people that have bigger staffed issues, whatever. They want to pay the people that. Whatever the reason is, they need to get their place staffed up before you open it up to the peons.
Yes. So, reeling this back into college football talk, there will be no, so far as we can tell, there will be no federal law that goes into effect before July 1st when these 6 states get to open up their NIL stuff, and there will be no NCAA violations penalized upon these teams.
This is going to be a problem.
It's going to be a disaster.
This is going to be a problem.
So, very much so. Very much so. Let's close out the news section. We went a little long in the news today, but we'll close out the news section with a few transfers.
We can just run through it because I don't think any of these guys are big names.
Ole Miss linebacker Jaquez Jones, 2-year starter at Ole Miss, led the team in tackles. He transfers to Kentucky. I think that's a fairly big deal for Mark Stoops. Colorado quarterback Sam Neuer, last year's starter for Carl Durrell's team. He is transferring to Oregon State to battle for that job with head coach Jonathan Smith. And finally, the biggest name on the list, I think, Luke McCaffrey, who was at Nebraska, transferred over to Louisville. He has now transferred to Rice. Did you see some of the stuff that Satterfield said?
Isn't McCaffrey, didn't he start at Michigan?
No. That was a different. That was Dylan McCaffrey.
Oh, Dylan McCaffrey. Okay.
Yeah, this is the younger brother.
I knew he had transferred multiple times. So it's Nebraska, Louisville, now Rice.
Now Rice. Did you see what Satterfield said about him? He actually came out and said this to reporters. He was like, "Yeah, he wanted to come in and start immediately, and after 3 or 4 days at practice, he maybe realized that wasn't a possibility here. So." That's why he's headed out.
But I don't think there's anything wrong in that.
No, it's nothing wrong with it.
That's the right thing to say.
If
that's what happened, that's what happened.
He was very, he didn't sugarcoat anything for this kid.
But why would he?
No.
Obviously, if he's transferring out of a place that he's only been to for a couple of months, it
didn't go the way that he thought it would.
He's trying to get starting time. He's trying to play.
And I think he can do that at Rice.
Yeah.
I think he can do that at Rice. But we shall see. All right. We are going to take about 15 minutes or so.
We can run through these.
Yeah, and roll through the
I'm just going to give my answer.
best game of the week draft. So let's go ahead and do that. Starting off week 0, it really came down to 2 games. Nebraska at Illinois, and then I chose Hawaii at UCLA.
Yep.
You start out the season in LA with a potential upset. Like, I'm game.
Well, yeah, I know.
think that's the best
And we like the coaching staff at Hawaii. We're interested to see how the UCLA turns out. So, yeah.
Yep.
We're in on Hawaii.
And don't get me wrong, the first home game for Brett Bielema at Illinois could be a big deal.
I care about that, but I don't know that most people care about that.
No.
I would only want to go to hang out with Brett.
So, and that's like a 12 p.m. Eastern time kick. Like, give me the later start time
In LA.
which would be earlier, I guess, in LA. But either way,
All right, let's move on. We've already spent too much time on that game.
Week 1, September 4th, Labor Day weekend. I think that the pick here, it has to be Georgia versus Clemson. The way that we're doing this, by the way, is if we were national media writers, if we were guys that had to cover one game a week and we had to give our schedule to our boss before the season even starts.
Say, this is where I'm going.
This is where I'm going.
This is what I'm writing about.
Yes. This is the way that we would do it, or I would do it. Chris has his own version of it.
That's right.
Because you don't want to hit the same place over and over and over and over.
Nope.
I would like to see different parts of the country, different teams, et cetera. So that is the way that we are going to go about this. I think Georgia versus Clemson in Charlotte, it's a top 5 matchup to start the season. I would prefer that it be on a home campus, but, now, first week, there's obviously a ton of games. North Carolina, Virginia. Which one are you taking?
I'm taking Boise State at UCF.
So I really thought about that.
That's the game I'm going to. I'm hanging out with Gus. I'm watching the new look Boise team, and I want to see this Central Florida football team under Gus Malzahn fired up, ready to play. This is their first game of the season.
Yep.
That's where I'm going.
I could believe it.
And I'm getting to go to Orlando.
The other options here, North Carolina at Virginia Tech. Fuente's hot seat, is North Carolina legit, et cetera. Penn State at Wisconsin. That was my second choice.
If we want to get through this in 15 minutes, we're not going to be able to read all these off.
That's probably a good idea.
I think you need to give your choice. I give my choice. You can give an also ran if you want, and we get the hell out.
And then you guys, of course, jump into the comments and tell us where you would be going these weeks.
Week 2.
Week 2, September 11th. I'm going Iowa at Iowa State. It is a massive game in Ames. Matt Campbell is 0-4 against Kirk Ferentz.
Yes.
Is that where you would go?
Nope. I do like that game, and I would be more interested in going to that game than Georgia Clemson. That's fine. Take me to Fayetteville. Texas, an old Southwest rival, comes to Arkansas. I think Arkansas is a team on the rise. I think Texas is a team in turmoil. One team has all of the money, all of the talent, all of the cachet, and the other team is from Arkansas. And I want to watch this game.
I could get down with that.
One's got a pretty boy star coach, and the other one has a big, goofy offensive line coach that's now the head coach. I love the hell out of it.
The other options here, like I'm only going to read off two of them.
That's fine.
Oregon at Ohio State. Neither one of us picked that.
No, neither one of us picked that. There's a part of me that feels like it might not be that great of a game. I hope I'm wrong by that.
I've told you about this. Like Oregon has some major problems in their secondary, and if Ohio State's got a quarterback that's
trusting
rolling,
Ryan Day knows. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I just trust Ryan Day. I hope I'm wrong about that. I would love to see Oregon come in there and at least make it a football game.
Yeah, and I think they can.
I've looked at that Ohio State schedule, and I'm telling you, we got some friends. They did an Ohio State preview today that came out on a podcast. Listen, that Ohio State schedule, if they get by Oregon,
it's wide open.
It is a moonwalk. It is the soft. Clemson's going to play a harder schedule than them.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about.
Clemson's going to play a harder schedule than them.
I don't think so because Clemson doesn't play Penn State.
Doesn't matter.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. The other one, Washington at Michigan. That's a fairly big game in the big house.
Game does not.
I think it's a bit of a swing game for both of those teams. It kind of lets you know what's lining up because if Michigan loses that one at home,
I don't know that it matters.
That could be the beginning of a rough season. Week 3, September 18th. I am going to Happy Valley. Good old Penn State hosting Auburn. It's a possible whiteout game. How many chances are you going to get to see Auburn in Happy Valley? It's a night game. It's on ABC. Like, I have not been there for a game, so this is partially why I'm wanting to do it.
That's probably my choice. I'm going to give you the other choice. The other choice is
Cincinnati at Indiana.
I'm going to BYU. I'm watching Arizona State. I'm watching Herm Edwards. I'm watching this year's Heisman Trophy winner. I'm watching the Pac-12 winner,
Jaden Daniels.
I'm telling you, this is the game that I would be going to. And I've never even had an opportunity or considered going to BYU before. I want to go up there. I know it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, Provo, Utah.
No. So
gorgeous.
I'll hang out there, whatever, and that's the game that I would choose. You're right. Night game, Happy Valley against Auburn. That would probably be the right choice.
Yeah. Now, kickoff times do play a lot into this. Nebraska at Oklahoma,
choice.
Like that's traditional rivalry, 50-year anniversary of like that massive game of the century, whatever. It definitely doesn't matter. But I mean, does Arizona State BYU matter?
Yeah, I think it's two teams that could be really good.
I mean, I don't know if BYU is going to be all that great this year.
But then you haven't watched BYU for a long time because somewhere they're going to pull up a 25-year-old quarterback and he's going to be really good.
And their offensive linemen are all 28.
That's right. Everybody that they replaced last year, they're not replacing them with 18-year-olds, Gary.
They're
replacing them with 24-year-old dudes that have dad strength.
Nebraska at Oklahoma is a 12 p.m. Eastern time game.
That's a shit show of a ball game.
No, absolutely.
That is somebody who hoard themselves out for ratings.
Oklahoma State at Boise State could be interesting. I would love to see Gundy up on the blue turf.
Yeah.
Cincy at Indiana. That's a pretty big game for Cincinnati.
It is a big game. It's a big game for both of them, but I'm not hanging out in Indiana. No offense to Indy.
And it's a Bloomington football crowd. Like I think it's going to be a big deal. But
I want to go to BYU.
Alabama at Florida was the other one because how often does Alabama go to Gainesville? Week 4, September 25th. Notre Dame and Wisconsin in Chicago, Soldier Field, Irish and Badgers in the Windy City.
This is the only answer.
I think it's
the only answer. Nothing else is even worth reading.
None of the other ones on that weekend are. I mean, it's
not even big games, but it doesn't matter. This game would be my number one choice of the year. My love for Chicago, the city of Chicago. I love my Big Ten team. Before I made friends and fell in love with Northwestern, has been since I was a child. Wisconsin. My family team growing up in a staunch Catholic home that doesn't watch any football, but we always watch the Irish. I can't not go to this game.
Does it change your mind at all knowing that it's going to be a noon Eastern time kick?
No, because then I get to party in Chicago with a bunch of drunken Irish and all the Wisconsin fans that came up. Are you kidding me? This might be the best drinking night in Chicago history.
I think you got a massive point there. Massive point.
No, this is my game for the year. This game. Now, my second favorite city in the country. Two teams that I've grown up and I've loved my entire life. I can't get any better than that. I don't care if they both suck.
You got a valid point. The other options were not great. Week 5, October 2nd. You want to give me yours first? I think I thought this was a pretty easy one.
It is. This might be the only big night game in Death Valley. That's the only reason why I would pick that.
Okay.
It's this is a whole total homer pick. Total homer pick. Last week I watched Notre Dame. I covered Notre Dame in Chicago. Do I want to go see Touchdown Jesus? Do I want to go to Notre Dame and watch Cincinnati? 100%.
I do.
That's
where I'm going.
That's the game. I love LSU, and this would be my only opportunity to go to a night game. Thank God CBS still hoards himself out to Alabama, and Ole Miss will get the day game. I will get the night game in Death Valley against Auburn, a team I think my team is better than. I don't care about covering it. I'm going to be cheering in the press box, and I'm going to break all the rules. I don't care.
That tends to make sense. Michigan, Wisconsin's that weekend. Cincinnati at Notre Dame is mine. If Cincy wins here,
the right answer,
they got a shot at the playoff.
That's the right answer. Even if they don't, it's still a hellaciously good ball game.
Oh, yes. If I had not already been to Penn State in this season, like just a few weeks ago, then I would have taken Indiana at Penn State. That's a rivalry game. Not a rivalry. That's a revenge game for the Nittany Lions.
I don't know that you don't get to say revenge if you're the team that's always beat them and you finally lost to them.
I mean, yeah, right? Okay. Yeah, no, you got a point. There's several games that day. Ole Miss at Alabama, like that's happening. Auburn at LSU was yours. Boston College at Clemson. That one went down to the wire last year. Oregon, Stanford, Michigan, Wisconsin, whatever. Part of me put App State and Georgia State on here for like just a fun Saturday in downtown Atlanta because I know that I can watch the games all day.
You can't do that.
I can't do App State and Georgia State. Can't do it. Week 6, October 9th.
I do think this one only has one answer.
I think so as well. Now, anytime Penn State goes to Kinnick, that's kind of a big deal. Penn State at Iowa, but I think Alabama at Texas A&M. I think it's the SEC game of the year this year.
I do too.
So,
but you know how I felt about A&M the last couple of years.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
Jimbo's got that thing turning.
Oklahoma, Texas is the other side of this. Now, if we can get Oklahoma and Texas at noon and then Alabama A&M at night, you could double dip that thing.
Well, yeah, because you're close.
I mean, Dallas to Houston ain't crazy.
No, I mean, we're going to need to fly private.
Oh, yeah, we'll need to fly, but
we're going
you
to
can
fly
make it
private.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. So that's the way that would
It's
take
about $60,000.
Hey, we're talking hypotheticals here. We can make this. We got the money.
I bet we could get it cheaper than that.
We got the money.
It might be some shithole plane, but
hey, so long as Oklahoma covers that morning, we'll be just fine. It'll be all good. Week 7. This is the last one we're going to hit this week. We are going to start with Week 8 next week on next week's show. But Week 7, October 16th. All right, Florida LSU is always big.
it is in my eyes, but I don't know that the country sees that.
I agree. UCF at Cincinnati. I've already covered the Cincinnati game, although it was at Notre Dame.
I'm going to Nippert Stadium.
Okay, of course you're going to see Malzahn and Luke Fickell. I'm
going to Cincinnati. It's the best game of the weekend.
I'm going to Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Yeah, my game's going to be a lot more fun than your game.
To see Miami, Florida, and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Manny Diaz going up against his old boss in Mac Brown again. The winner of this one, I believe, wins that side of the conference, goes to the ACC championship game. I think there's a lot of stakes here. I think Chapel Hill is going to be foaming at the mouth at this point.
Call me when Manny Diaz does something special, and then I can start showing up to Miami games.
This might be it.
Okay.
Maybe I'll be there, and I'll be able to call you that night and be like, hey.
The next Miami game I'll actually show up to. But until then, I've been hearing that Miami's back. Just same thing about Texas. They're back. They're back.
They're back.
No, they're not. They haven't been back since I was a child. It's okay. It's all right.
All right. That is going to wrap up this week's show. Is there anything else we need to hit on?
No, man. It's fun, though. I like doing that.
So, you guys, jump in the comments. Tell us what games you would go to on what weeks. We want to hear about it. And give us a reason why. Jump in the comments. Do it. Or, again, you can reach out to us on Twitter. I'm at GaryWCE.
I'm at Chris B. Giannini.
Click the link in the description, sbrpicks.com/NCAAF. It is your one-stop shop for your college football gambling content, and the season is coming along. We got win totals out. We got conference championship odds out. We got futures odds for the national title, for the Heisman, all that kind of stuff. You can find it all over there on the website. Click the link down in the description. Make sure that you are subscribed to the show. It's very easy. You just click the little subscribe button down there and hit the bell. That notifies you whenever we have a new video out. And like the video. We get to 50 likes. YouTube starts to really like us. And, of course, if you're old school, tell somebody about it. Tell everybody that you know. Make us sound good looking and cool and whatever. You got to hear these guys. You got to see them. All that fun stuff. So, nothing else. I think we're good.
That's it.
That is it. All right. For SportsbookReview.com, I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And we will see you again next week.